I have redrawn this sector 3 times in my career. The first 2 times I understood why. The third time I sealed the page and have not opened it since. My name is Seval Doe. I hold the rank of Deputy Recorder in the Outer Meridian Survey, the Cartographers Guild that has maintained the galaxy's working atlas for 1100 years. We are not soldiers. We are not diplomats. We do not negotiate borders or contest them. We observe them and we record what we observe, and when the record becomes too dangerous to leave open on a working table, we seal it and mark the margin and move on. That is all we do. I am telling you this because I want you to understand what kind of witness I am. I am the kind who draws lines. I am not the kind who explains what lies behind them. What lies behind this particular line I will tell you exactly once. Because you are young, and you serve the survey now, and if you are to guard the atlas, you must understand which pages must never be reopened and why. The Veth Conclave were builders. They built enormous things, beautiful things. And they believed that beauty conferred neutrality. That if a structure was grand enough and governed by elegant rules, nothing that happened inside it could be called violent. It was just competition. The natural order made ceremonial. They had been building arenas for 400 years before they chose the site that ended them. The site they chose sat 11 light seconds inside what the atlas, our atlas, the survey's atlas, had already designated the outer advisory margin of the Forbidden Reach. Not inside the reach itself, they argued. 11 light seconds outside the hard border. 11 light seconds of buffer between their grand arena and the blank region of the chart. They brought the proposal to the survey for a cartographic opinion, not a permission. They were very clear that they were not asking permission. They wanted a notation in the record that their arena fell outside the formal boundary. And technically, they were correct. I was the one who wrote the notation. I want you to... I have not forgiven myself for the precision of my own handwriting on that page. The Veth called it the proving amphitheater of the Conclave Ascendant. They had been constructing it for 60 years before it opened. The structure was enormous by any measure. A ringed station the size of a small moon, set with observation galleries that could seat 12,000 delegates from any species that cared to watch. The entry rules were open. Any registered species could send contestants. Any. The Veth were proud of that word. Any. The humans entered in the 3rd enrollment cycle. There were 4 of them registered under a species designation the survey had flagged. Not banned, flagged. The Veth's administrative councils reviewed the flag, determined it was precautionary rather than prohibitive, and cleared the enrollment. They noted in their own record that the humans carried no visible weapons beyond standard contestant equipment, that their biometric profiles were unremarkable, and that in their intake interviews they had been, and I am quoting the Veth administrative log directly, cooperative and pleasant. The council approved them. Veth were very good at building elegant rules. They were not good at understanding what happens when elegant rules meet something that does not know it is supposed to lose. The tournament ran in rounds, 7 rounds over 9 days, with rest intervals between them. The Veth broadcast every round on an open channel. Their gift to the galaxy, they called it, civilization-made spectacle. We received those broadcasts in the survey hall. I watched several of them. 7 rounds, and the humans advanced through each one. I will not describe the rounds, because that is not what this record is for. What I will tell you is that by the end of the 7th round, there were 4 humans still standing, and no one else. And the Veth Administrative Council convened an emergency session. The session lasted most of a day. This. I know, because Sulfate monitored the broadcast channel throughout, and for the duration of that session, there was no transmission from the arena. Only static, and the ambient carrier signal that told us the channel was still open. When the session ended, the Veth issued a formal administrative ruling. They had reviewed the charter. They had reviewed the entry provisions. They had reviewed every clause and subclause of the rules they had spent 60 years perfecting. They ruled that the tournament must complete. The rules required a champion. The rules did not permit a tournament to simply stop because the remaining contestants were inconvenient. The 8th day began at the 4th hour of the standard cycle. We know this because the broadcast channel was still active. We received the carrier signal. We received ambient acoustic data from the arena's open microphone systems. We received approximately 11 minutes, nothing unusual. Then the carrier signal stopped. Not degraded, not interrupted by interference. It stopped, as if something had reached across 11 light seconds and closed a hand around the transmitter. One moment the channel was open, the next it was not. We sent a standard survey probe to the coordinates 3 days later. Standard protocol, uncrewed, observation only, no approach, within 2 light minutes of the formal advisory margin. The probe returned its data at the end of the week. I reviewed the data myself. The arena was still there, structurally intact, from what the probe's long-range instruments could determine. No debris field, no sign of an explosion or a hull breach, or any of the catastrophic failures that produce a debris field. The station sat exactly where it had always sat, 11 light seconds outside the formal border, dark and intact and silent. There were no ships in the surrounding volume. Not the VETH administrative vessels that had been present throughout the tournament. Not the delegate transports from the 12,000 observers. Not the human entry vessel. Nothing. I referenced with every traffic registry the survey maintains. No vessel filed a departure record from those coordinates after the carrier signal went dark. No vessel filed an arrival record at any port in our registry in the interval between signal loss and the probe's survey. I expanded the 640 port authorities across 11 political zones. Not one record of a departure or an arrival. 12,000 observers. The VETH's full administrative council and their staff. The support personnel. The maintenance crews. Broadcast technicians. The contestants who had not reached the final round. 4 humans. All of them. Gone. Into nothing. Leaving the station sitting exactly where it had always sat. Intact, dark and silent. I brought the probe data to my senior colleagues. Convened a full survey review. It lasted 6 days. At the end of those 6 days, we made 3 decisions. The first decision, no follow-up probe, crewed mission, no further investigation of the station itself. The data we had was the data we would keep. We would not send anyone closer to find out what silence meant. The second decision, the VETH conclave would be stricken from the living registry of known spacefaring species, not because we knew they were dead. We had no bodies, no wreckage, no confirmation. We stricken them because we had 12,000 witnesses to what began on that station, and not a single one of them turned to tell us how it ended. The registry exists to record the living. We had no evidence of life. The third decision, the advisory margin was insufficient. 11 light seconds of buffer had not been sufficient. We redrew the formal boundary of the forbidden reach outward. We drew it outward until the arena's coordinates fell inside it. Not at the edge of it. Inside it. Absorbed into the blank region of the chart. The region where the survey does not go, and does not send probes, and does not maintain corridors. The region that exists in the atlas only as an absence. The region where the stars are correct but the space between them is not annotated. I drew that new line myself. I measured it twice. I inked it in the permanent record in the dark red that the survey uses for boundaries that do not change. And then I sealed the page. There is something the galaxy understands about human space that the VETH never understood, and that I think most species only understand once, from the wrong side of that understanding. The galaxy does not avoid human space because of any one incident. It does not avoid human space because of any fleet engagement or any formally declared act of war. The galaxy avoids human space because of the accumulation of silences, the missions that did not return, the signals that stopped, the probes that came back with nothing to report, the careful, thorough reviews that end in the same decision every time. We will not go closer. The VETH believed they had found a neutral space, a formal space, a space governed by rules beautiful enough to contain anything. They believed the elegance of their rules was a kind of protection. It was not. There is no neutral ground on the edge of the forbidden reach. There is no bracket that holds when the humans decide the bracket no longer applies. There is no charter and no tournament and no administrative ruling about what the rules require. There is only what comes after. Have redrawn this sector 3 times. The third line is permanent. I sealed the page. I will not open it again, and I would advise you. I am advising you formally, as your senior colleague and as a deputy of this survey. to extend me the same professional, you see. Do not ask what happened on the 8th day. The atlas does not know, and the atlas is all that came back.